Grueling Truth. The Grueling Truth Sports Network is powered by Betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sports book that's right for you. Make sure you check out Betting.net. I'm your host, Mike Goodpasser for Beating the Spread. We were at week 9. Last week, if you watched the show, we ended up going, I think, 5-2, 6-2. So we made money. Let's see if we can do it again this week. And we're going to start off with the Cincinnati Bearcats, who rank second in the nation against the Tulane Green Wave. The Bearcats, like I said, they're ranked number 2. Last week, they did not look great against Navy. They ended up winning the game 27-20. They were up 27-10, kind of backed off. Tulane is 1-6 and is one of the worst defenses in the country, allowing 493.9 yards per game. Only UMass and Arkansas State allow more. In last week's loss to SMU, quarterback Michael Pratt took a huge hit late in the fourth quarter and now is in concussion protocol. If Pratt can't play on Saturday, Tulane will have to start freshman Kai Horton. Horton, who had just one FBS offer out of high school, entered the season third on the depth chart, but became the backup after an injury to Justin Abieta, who was the backup at Tulane. The Bearcats, as we talked about, currently ranked number 2 in the AP poll, had a lackluster offensive performance in last week's win over Navy. The only questions I have with Cincinnati and whether they could compete with the Alabamas and Georgias of the world are Desmond Ridder. I know a lot of people are high on Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder is inconsistent. I think he's going to cause trouble for the Bearcats when they play better teams. Tulane is not that. I expect UC to put a hurting on the Green Wave in this one. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Cincinnati. I'm going to give it 24.5 points and not worry too much about it, especially if the backup quarterback's playing. Next up, we have maybe the game of the week. Definitely the game of the week in the Big Ten. That's Michigan against Michigan State. This is a game I think is a complete toss-up. And the way these two teams operate, I'm expecting a fairly low-scoring game. Michigan State has been pretty reliant on big plays offensively, though it has faced mostly mediocre opponents. Michigan hasn't been given explosive plays like the old Don Brown-led defenses routinely did. And additionally, the Michigan State offense has struggled in recent wins over Nebraska and Indiana, the two best defenses the Spartans have faced this year. Michigan relies heavily on its running game, averaging over 250 yards per game on 46 attempts. Michigan State has faced only one team that ranks in the top 75 nationally in rushing offense. That was Nebraska. And MSU held up pretty well as the Huskers went for just 194 yards on 50 attempts, a little under 4 yards per attempt. What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to bet the winner. I'm going to bet the under at 50.5. Because I don't see this being a game scored in the high 20s by both teams. Could surprise me here, but I'm going to go with the under on that game. Next up, we've got Miami at Pitt. The over is 61, and that's what we're going to play here. Now, despite starting the season 2-4, Miami has still shown some fight. The Hurricanes nearly completed second half comebacks against both Virginia and North Carolina. And then we're able to hold off NC State's comeback attempt last week at a 31-30 upset win. With De'Aaron King out, Tyler Van Dyke has improved at quarterback, and Jalen Knighton has been making plays at running back. Defensively, though, Miami has not been good, and now it has to face Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett. Pickett's a fifth-year senior who has emerged as a fresh Heisman candidate, with the Panthers now one of the favorites in the ACC. I am a little bit worried about a letdown after last week's huge win over Clemson, but I think Pitt will have plenty of success through the air, especially with Miami safety Bubba Bolden now out for the season. I'm going to pick 61 as the over. I'm going to bet the over on Miami and Pitt, and I'm going to feel pretty good about that. I think a lot of points are going to be scored in that game. Next up, Georgia Tech -4 over Virginia Tech. Now, with Jeff Sims fully healthy, I expect Georgia Tech to move the ball no matter who it plays. The fact that it has a reeling Virginia Tech team at home further reinforces how I feel about the Yellow Jackets this week. Justin Fuente is firmly on the hot seat as the Hokies have lost 4 of their last 5 games, including last week's 41-36 heartbreaker to Syracuse. The Orange scored twice in the game's final 2:28 to escape Blacksburg with a win. Though the Hokies got a nice boost from freshman running back Malachi Thomas against Syracuse, I'm having a hard time seeing them bounce back here, especially in just their second road game of the season. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Georgia Tech at -4.5 points. Next up, Iowa State, -7 over West Virginia. Iowa State is a team that is now playing the way people expected. West Virginia, on the other hand, snapped a 3-game losing streak by beating TCU 29-17 on the road last week. But to me, that game was more about where TCU is as a program than anything special WVU did. The Horned Frogs have one of the worst defenses in the country, and the offense turned it over 3 times in the second half. Iowa State presents a much tougher challenge here. This is a team that opened the year ranked in the top 10, but stumbled through the month of September. The Cyclones, coming off a 24-21 win over number 8 ranked Oklahoma State, are just now hitting their stride. The other thing is Iowa State is 4-1 against the spread in its last 5 as a road favorite. I like that trend to continue. I'm going to take Iowa State. I'm going to give the 7 points at West Virginia. And that brings us to our final game of the week, which is Louisville +7 over North Carolina State. Now, I believe when you look at Louisville and you look at North Carolina State, I think Louisville is better than its 4-3 record shows. Louisville lost by just 3 on the road to undefeated Wake Forest, blew a 30-13 fourth quarter lead in a loss to Virginia, and should have beaten Boston College by more than 14 last week. Malik Cunningham is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country. I think he'll be able to have success against an NC State defense that has lost several of its top players to season-ending injuries. I'm going to take Louisville here in the upset +7. Not saying to win, but I think 7 points is way too much to give to a Louisville team that I think is better than what the record shows. Now, guys, I want to remind you that betting.net finds the best promotions, discounts, and bonus codes so you don't have to. Head over to their website now to take full advantage of things like free bets and matching deposits. So make sure you check out betting.net. Make sure you check out thegruelingtruth.com. Today, my article, Beating the Spread, which has a lot more games than just these 6 on it, is sitting there. I think last week I was 7-3, which puts me at like 46-28 against the spread in college football. I'm not going to lie, it's the best I've ever done in a season, picking college football games. Hopefully that trend will continue this weekend. I want to remind people tonight, if you're watching this show on Thursday, we will have myself and former Cincinnati Bengal Joe Kelly, who started in Super Bowl 23 for the Bengals, on to discuss the Cincinnati Bengals during our weekly Cincinnati Bengals show. We will preview the Bengals' upcoming game with the Jets, look back at the dominating win against the Ravens, and see exactly where the Bengals stand when it comes to the top teams in the AOC. So make sure you check us out at 9 tonight there. Tomorrow, the College Football Legends Show will be on with Rick Minter, who was the defensive coordinator for Lou Holtz at Notre Dame, and later on became the head football coach at the University of Cincinnati for a decade. He will be our guest at 1 o'clock tomorrow, so make sure you come back here live at 1 so you can see my discussion with Rick Minter. We'll talk a little UC Bearcats present day, plus a little old UC Bearcats, working with Lou Holtz, working at Notre Dame. Make sure you check us out there. And a special Survive in Advance at 8 o'clock tomorrow night to talk about the NFL, the racism in the NFL, the virtue signaling the NFL does, and to tell you a little bit about the race norming that was done, which is absolutely disgusting. And you don't hear it talked about hardly at all on ESPN or any major networks. So make sure you check us out there. Make sure you follow me at Grueling Truth. Make sure you go to betting.net so you can get all the info you need to make your bets this weekend. So for now, I'm Mike Goodpastor. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.